Patrick was obviously a visionary and an enthusiastic businessman. Ellen was the heart, I think, of the family and the business. Patrick, I think, had ideas, and I think he probably had business acumen, which Ellen, I think, learnt from him. He died in 1906, so they were only married for something like 22 years. But in that time, I think Ellen learnt a lot, and Patrick taught her a lot. Patrick and Ellen's Catholic faith, I think, contributed a lot. It interwove into their whole life, their family and their business. I think they probably set up the mill and called it Defiance, in defiance of the Dominion Mill. I think Ellen coped when Patrick died in 1906 because she'd had a lot of experience in the business anyway. She obviously knew the business inside out. She was a partner in the business. She was a strong woman. Well, she was Irish to start with, and that explains a bit, I think. And I think she probably was the typical Irish woman, Irish mother, because she had 10 children. But she was warm and hospitable, and I think a strong in character as well as physically strong. But I think, yes, she was able to cope with having a large family and running a business at the same time. And her husband dying when she was 48. She was 48 and left with 10 children, so. Ellen was an outstanding businesswoman, and I think a testimony to that is the fact that her funeral in Toowoomba stopped Toowoomba. It was a huge funeral. The cortege went for 2 streets, and it was a testimony to the regard that the whole community of Toowoomba held her in. TP took over the end of the First World War. He was very adverse to borrowing money from the bank. So I think his tenure of 50 years until he died in 1969, he consolidated the business.
TP was probably reflecting a very strong Irish tradition about if we didn't have anyone else to fight, we'd fight ourselves, so it was better to keep everybody busy doing things. And certainly, at the same time, the family was very disciplined. All of my cousins, the whole lot of us grew up going to church, going to Mass at 6 a.m. every day.
There was an expectation, in fact it was taken for granted, that if you're an O'Brien you should be working harder than the rest of the team. That was a hard call because Defiance was full of employees who gave everything.
I think the growth strategy for the company originally in the 60s was really we had to vertically diversify into bakeries. I thought it was the only way to survive in those days. We identified that this was a great opportunity. So on the back of all the growth in hot bread shops and in-stores, we basically geographically spread across Australia, while in Queensland we were vertically integrating into bakeries.
From the 60s, Defiance grew very, very rapidly. I think a big part of that was simply that there were 3 talented men who were in their 40s at that time, absolutely determined that this was their life's work to make a success of this business.
Firstly, with the aid of licences out of the United States, they developed this premix product. Firstly, bread premixes and then cake premixes. Defiance kicked that off. It approached Woolworths, secured their buy-in, and in so doing, Woolworths proceeded to open up chain after chain in its retail stores and in-store bakery. Coles obviously had to jump on board, followed by Franklin's and others. Defiance managed to become the sole supplier to those major retailers. Quite a difficult feat. The other piece of the strategy that Defiance also went after with great success was the hot bread shops. Now, Defiance commenced that, created the concept in Queensland. Again, another mushrooming business.
We were by far the biggest premix manufacturer, and to a degree there's not many bigger premix manufacturers in the world in bread premixes than what we were.
Asia was very much a relationship-driven strategy. One where we saw, for example, we took our premix concept, we took that up into Hong Kong, for example, with the same wonderful results. We became the sole suppliers of both the major retailers, as we were in Australia and continued to be. We had relationships and were building relationships across Asia in various countries.
We were leaders in innovation, and at one stage there, our Toowoomba mill, per foot of roller mill space, had the highest capacity of flour of any mill in the world. And it was mainly due to the machinery that we'd invented. I remember when I first started at Defiance, there was something like 400 staff in the Toowoomba between the head office and the flour mill, and then there was a bakery at Darling Downs Bakery as well that had, up to 100 staff. So, probably talking in the vicinity of 500 people working in Toowoomba that, directly attributable to what Defiance was doing. And in a town back then, it was 50,000 people. They were a major player.
It was in 1997 that the Bunge Group proceeded with what you call a general offer for all the shares in the public company, Defiance Mills. Defiance Holdings, which then owned about 39% of the company, along with some of the O'Briens who did own shares separately, accepted that offer, and you had a situation where near 50% of the company was already purchased. The ultimate result, though, was a price that was accepted, and that saw the exit.
I think it was very much a Toowoomba company first, but absolutely very much Queensland. And then I think perhaps eventually, again, as time went on, it saw itself very much as an Australian success story that was something to be proud of as well.